Hello and welcome back to another brand new podcast by me, FoxyNoTail, here on the place where you listen to podcasts. Hurrah! It's been a while again. I've been lazy. Well, I haven't actually. I've been very busy. I've been a busy little fox. Busy bee, doing lots of busy things. And podcasts, sadly, have ended up at the very bottom of the list of things that I want to do. And it's not because I don't want to do them. I love making these podcasts. It's because there's just too many high priority things and the medium to low priority things are just not getting dealt with, which is a bit of a shame, but I feel like I'm finally getting somewhere now, and I'm going to talk about how I'm achieving that a little bit later on in this podcast. But before we get into that, let's find out what have I been up to since the last podcast in the little segment that I like to call My Week. Now, my week, as usual on these later podcasts, has been more like my months. I think the last time I did a podcast, it was before the Village and Pillage update actually came out, or very much just shortly after it. I can't remember. But quite a lot has gone on since my last one. But most importantly and significantly, outside of Minecraft, I've been on holiday. I've actually been abroad on an actual holiday to an actual different country, which might sound strange, but that's quite a big deal for me. I haven't been on a proper holiday, actually on holiday, abroad, in the sun, enjoying myself and relaxing for a very, very long time, and it was lovely. And we only went for 4 nights, me and my girlfriend. We went for 4 nights, and it was just so lovely and relaxing and quiet. We went to Menorca, which is one of the Spanish islands, or the Balearic Islands. I say just off the coast of Spain. It's in the middle of the Mediterranean. It's quite a distance from the coast of Spain, but it's a really small island, and it's protected. So it's very raw, as in like volcanic and not built up. So it's very clean, but not clean in a like they've washed everything, but clean as in it's not dirty. It's not dirty. They've not. There's hardly any litter or any muck or any building waste or just stuff from going on, because they really do make a big effort to look after the place. So it's such a lovely place. It's quiet. It's not somewhere you would go and have lots of parties or anything like that. It's lovely to relax at. And the beaches are tiny as well, because most of it is surrounded by really sharp, jaggedy volcanic rock. And actually on the second to last day that we were there, I decided to take myself off for a little walk. And well, let's go back a bit further than that, shall we? On our first full day there, we went on a boat tour, and with the boat tour company we chose to go with was Amigos Boat Tours. And we were walking through where we were staying. There was a little marina, and we saw these Amigos Boat Tours, and I was like, we've got to go on an Amigos Boat Tours. That looks really cool. And it's a glass bottom boat, or well, some of it was anyway. It had a glass window in the bottom of the boat that you could see underneath, but there's nothing to see, because you're in the ocean, there's nothing to see at all for hardly any of it. But the thing about this boat is that its mission, if you like, we was on it for 4 hours, I think, altogether, and 3 of them you're spending actually on the water travelling, and then you end up at a beach, and you have an hour at this beach, and then you come back again. And on its journey, it actually stops off just in the coves of each of the beaches it goes past. So you actually travel past 14 beaches on the way down the coast. And it started at the beach that we were at, then it went all the way down the 14 beaches, and then it came back a little bit, stopped off at a beach that we got to spend an hour at, which there was just wild goats roaming about, which was very interesting. And we were laid on this beach, and behind us was what looked like a little cafe. But this beach was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, there was no roads nearby, there was no civilization nearby, there was quite a lot of people on it. And there was what looked very much like a cafe type shop behind us. So I was like, I'm going to go get a drink. Do you want one? Oh, yeah, I'll have a Coke, please. Right, okay. So I went up. I went up to this, what I thought was a little cafe, and there's all these people, locals that lived there, basically having a party. They were having a big family party on this beach. They were all really drunk. They were having a great time. And I waltzed in with my wallet, went, can I have a Coke, please? And they invited me in. And they were trying to give me rum and gin and all sorts of stuff. They were having a celebration. It wasn't a shop at all. It was just these locals who've just got this little hut on a beach where they go. And they were like, you can have what you want. Just come and join in. And unfortunately, we only had like an hour on this beach and we'd already been there like 45 minutes. So I just literally asked if I could have a Coke, took it back to the beach, drank it, and then took the empty glass back, which I felt really rude about and really embarrassed. But it was so nice. The people were so lovely and welcoming. And there's like hundreds of people on this beach all there. And I just happened to sort of stumble into their little party. And they didn't go, oh, no, you're a tourist, go away. They were like, yeah, come along. Yeah, come join in. Come and have some drinks. We're having a celebration. It's the tradition. And I'm like, all right, okay, I'd love to, but I've got to go. So anyway, Amigos boat tours. That was probably the highlight of my holiday, to be honest, just because the boat tour was as high quality and professional as I expected it to be. So each of the beaches that we sailed past, there would be an announcement over the tannoy that was pre-recorded in 3 different languages. So first you got it in Spanish, which obviously I didn't understand because I don't speak Spanish. Then you got it in English, which was handy because I speak English. And then you got it in German, which I know a little bit of German, but by that point, I wasn't interested because I'd heard it in English. So anyway, we went past the first beach and it did the Spanish bit and then it did the English bit. But rather than being in like a normal English accent, it was a really broad, thick Scottish accent that came through over this tannoy, this man with a really thick Scottish accent. And the information it gave us for each of the beaches was absolutely priceless. The first beach we went past was quite a small beach, and the guy over the tannoy went, "This is a small beach. It is facing the ocean." And that was it. Then he went to the German one. And I was like, oh, right, okay, that's nice. That's really handy. And I'm not exaggerating here. Then about 5-10 minutes down on the boat, down the coast to the next beach, we pulled into the next beach cove and the guy come up on the tannoy again, or the lady did first with the Spanish, and then the guy came and he went, "This beach is slightly bigger than the last beach." And that was it. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. Not names of the beaches, not what's nearby, not what's going on or anything like that, what wildlife you might expect to find there, what fish you might expect to see swimming around. Bearing in mind, we're on a glass bottom boat. They could have told us about the water life or the marine life or anything like that. No, we was measuring beaches. Anyway, eventually, as we got a little bit further down, we got into the really protected area, and the beaches we were going past had no access at all from the mainland, as in like no cars, no roads or anything like that. So then the guy, he started getting pretty technical on it. He was throwing a lot more information our way. He was saying things like, "This beach is facing the ocean and there is no car park for at least 1,000 meters." Which is obviously really handy information. It's like, thank you very much. And then that was it. From that point on, for the next 5 or 6 beaches, it was how close is the car park to the beach. Not how you get there, not what road you need to go on, what town it's near. None of that information. We had no geographical reference to where these beaches were other than physically being there. Which you're practically blindfold going to, because you're just going along the ocean until you happen across another beach. But then the information they chose to give us was, how big is it and where's the car park? Well, not where's the car park, how far away is the car park? And I just thought that was absolutely brilliant. No historical facts. Bearing in mind, Menorca was used as a fortification for years. It's got loads of history about it. There's loads of interesting stuff there. We got none of that. It was just, how long is the beach? As in, is it bigger than the last one or smaller than the last one? And where's the car park? Which just really tickled me. I was laughing my head off every time the tannoy went off. So yeah, that was Amigos boat tours. There was not a great deal really exciting happened on the holiday. It was just really nice and relaxing. We hired a car and did a little bit of exploring. And then on the very last day, on our way home, there was a little bit of a disaster at the airport in the fact that we were the only flight leaving on this tiny little airport, and our check-in desk system was broken. They could check us in electronically, but they couldn't print anything off. So they couldn't give us our boarding passes. They couldn't give us our luggage stuff. So they and ahed for about 40 minutes as we all stood there in the queue waiting to go through. And then they turned around and they just said, look, okay, we're going to have to do this manually. We'll log you into the computer and then you can go through security. And I think we must have been literally the only people in the queue that hadn't checked in online before we went. And the reason for that, I tried to check in online before we went, which basically all that is you go on the computer, tell it that you're going to go on holiday, and then you can print off your own boarding passes, which is great. But when I tried to do it, it failed, and it said you're going to have to go to security and check it. Or no, you're going to have to check in when you get there, which I thought, oh, fair enough. You've got to put your luggage through anyway, so it really doesn't make any difference. But then, they couldn't give us a boarding pass. So then when we went through to security, which was literally the next room along, and bearing in mind we were the only flight leaving that airport for several hours, there was no communication whatsoever between the check-in desk and security. So we got to security and they're like, where's your boarding pass? I'm like, well, we ain't got one because they couldn't go through. But here's all my documents. Here's all the information about the holiday. Here's all the signed stuff that they've just given me in pieces of paper from the check-in desk. So can you let us through? Our bags have gone through. Can you let us through? And they're like, no, you can't come through if you haven't got a boarding pass. And I'm like, but literally next door, no, you've got to go check in. I have checked in. No, you need to go check in and get your boarding pass. I said, the boarding pass machine's not working. We can't get it. So then they basically took us to one side and I had to. Fortunately, in Europe, we can use our mobile phone data anywhere in Europe for free at the minute. And that's probably going to all stop when Brexit actually fully happens. But for now, it's a thing. So they took us to one side and I had to go on my phone and try and check in again. And fortunately, this time it actually let me check in and I got the boarding pass up on the screen on my phone and they let us through with that. So it wasn't a disaster in the end, but there was a point there which I was a little bit panicking, thinking, I'm not going to get on this plane. They're going to be stuck in Menorca. No! Which, so that wasn't much fun. And then when we landed, bearing in mind in Menorca it's quite warm, it's about 27 degrees centigrade, which was very nice and warm. And we was wearing T-shirts and shorts. And when we landed in the UK at East Midlands Airport, it was 8 degrees and absolutely throwing it down with rain. And we was on one of those useful, really cheap airlines where you have to walk from the aeroplane to the terminal. So we had to walk in this freezing cold, bitter rain for about half a mile until we got inside the terminal and could actually warm up a little bit. So that was interesting. Anyway, I've rambled on for quite a long time about my holiday, and I've got a lot to talk about today. I've got a lot of things to discuss today because a lot has happened in Minecraft, on my channel, what's coming up, what's going on in the news. There's millions of things, so I need to stop talking about my incredibly badly burnt suntanned legs. I say suntanned, sunburnt legs, and start talking about Minecraft. What have I done in Minecraft over the last few weeks and months? Well, obviously, Truly Bedrock Season 1 started. It's going really well. I'm having a great time on it. My videos are doing really well. I'm really enjoying the things that I'm getting up to at the moment. I'm doing a lot of collaboration with Slack Lizard, which is great because me and him seem to get on really well. And it seems to go down really well with everybody that watches our videos as well. It's always a good laugh recording with Slack, although he does keep me up to the early hours of the morning, so I've been a lot more tired than normal recently, but we do have a really good time doing that. The only downside to Season 1 is that there is a big, or it feels much more like we're separated from each other. And I don't just mean the players as in physical locations in the game. I mean, actually, there's a lot less communication outside of the game as well in terms of privately on the Discord because we're all doing our own things. We've all got our own bases. And unless you're collaborating with somebody, there's no overlap with anybody other than like the shopping area. And we're trying hard to sort of get people involved in the community builds and things like that, but it doesn't fit around everybody in their style of play. So there's a big disparity at the minute with how Season 0 was, where we were all working together and gelling together and we were forced to be together because we're all next to each other on these little islands. And Season 1, we've got this huge playing field and we're all separate. And we're just not tripping over each other's toes enough to force ourselves into working together. So I think that needs addressing personally because I don't want everybody to just drift away and disappear and do their own thing. I want it to be a community thing. I want everybody to enjoy working together. And that, for me, is coming up as part of a storyline that I've been planning on starting for ages, but I keep putting it off because other things keep cropping up. But there is a big thing that's going to happen in my episodes very, very soon, and that's going to force me to go back to trying to be involved with more people, basically. And I'm hoping that I can spark a little bit more interaction with everybody by doing that as well, which would be really nice, because togetherness is a good thing. Speaking of togetherness, my City of Foxton patron realm is going really well as well. It looks fantastic. The builds that are coming up on there look absolutely amazing. There's a good amount of engagement. The chat on the Discord, if you are a VIP and you've got available, you can see the Discord channels on my Discord about that are always... There's always stuff going on, people talking about this, that, and the other. It's exciting. We had a bit of excitement with the Loose Wither the other day, which I was a bit mean, actually, because I was... the person that basically, one of my patrons came to me and said, hey, look, we've let a wither loose in the overworld. It's gone invincible. There's a bug in the game that basically means at a certain point you can't destroy them. And it was quite a long way away from spawn, and I knew it was a long way away from spawn from the first person that told me about it, but another person told me about it, and they thought it was a lot closer to the city than it was, and they were really panicking. Well, it seemed like they were panicking in their communication to me, so I started getting really mardy about it, or pretended to be really mardy about it as well. I was like, oh, you can't be doing this isn't right, and I really did. I didn't ever get to the point where I was like, oh, you know, I'm only joking type thing. I really did lay it on thick. And I felt afterwards that, like, later on that day, I felt really bad about it. I was like, oh, I've really laid that on a bit thick there. But no, it was quite funny as it turned out anyway. But yeah, that's going really well. I'm going to be doing a live stream on there today. You've probably already seen that, or if you watch or follow my channel, because this won't be coming out the day I'm recording it, because... 2 reasons. 1, I don't have a background video for it yet. And B, I don't actually have time to record the whole thing. So I'll actually be recording this part now and the next part of this either later on or maybe even tomorrow, depending on how my days go. So yeah, everything's coming up roses at the moment with my channel. I'm very, very happy with it. And I'm having a good time in general, really. So, coming up today, we have the news, we've got a Q&A, and I actually have a bunch of questions for the Q&A this week. We're going to be discussing copyright on YouTube and copyright infringement and all that sort of stuff. We're going to be discussing the big bugs in the Village and Pillage update, the ones that I said weren't there originally, that have snuck out of the woodwork and are taken us all by surprise. And then I'm going to actually start discussing my thoughts on Minecraft Earth and Minecraft Dungeons, the 2 new upcoming games by the Minecraft people. Right, before we do any of that though, let's talk about the news. Okay, so in the news today, over the last few weeks, lots and lots of things have gone on. We've had not only the 1.11 update of Minecraft come out, which is Village and Pillage if you're on Bedrock Edition. We've also had Minecraft 1.14 coming out on Java Edition, which is also Village and Pillage, although they don't seem to be particularly similar in terms of the updates and how they've arrived. And yeah, let's talk first of all about my channel. My channel has gone through a ridiculous amount of growth in the last couple of months. And a lot of that is to do with the success of Truly Bedrock, which is absolutely amazing, by the way. Thank you to everybody that's involved in it, all of the members and anybody that's engaged with it, whether that's the TB Rundown people, whether that's people from the Discord, or if it's just my usual group of fans and community that have taken part in commenting and getting engaged. It's amazing, so thank you very much for that. Another reason for the huge amount of sudden growth of my channel, if you like, my analytics have gone through the roof recently, that is pretty much down to Slack Lizard. Slack Lizard is one of the Truly Bedrock members, and he's relatively new to YouTube, and I say that loosely. He's been on YouTube for quite a long time, but he's only really the last year or so been, you know, starting to make regular videos and push his channel, and he spends an absolutely ridiculous amount of time pouring through the analytics, setting up his videos in terms of search engine optimization, making sure his keywords are right. He watches the YouTube channel stuff that YouTube send you when they do like creators. What's the word? I don't know. Basically, YouTube have links to other creators that put out videos about how to YouTube and what's the best practices for creating YouTube videos and how to generate more views and how to produce your channel properly. And he's watched all of it. He knows it inside out and back to front. And I thought, you know, from doing YouTube for over 5 years now, that I pretty much got the hang of it. I thought, oh yeah, I'm doing a pretty good job here. I make sure that I write a decent description for all of my videos, and I title it properly, and I add keywords in that's relevant to that video. And after spending about 2 or 3 hours with Slack, just going over a couple of videos, he completely changed my channel round just by, you know, delving into it just a little bit deeper. And since then, my average views have gone up from what was around about sort of between 700 and 1,200 views per video to like nearly 3,000 views on average per video, and some of my latest videos are getting 4,000 views, and it's ridiculous. And a lot of that is down to just how we've optimized my channel, how I optimize my videos now, and thanks to Slack for taking the time to talk me through it. So thank you very, very much. I owe you so much for that. And last but not least, the other reason that my channel has started to gain quite a lot of traction elsewhere, you might not have noticed, but you might notice that I've been a little bit more vocal on Twitter and in the Discord and on Facebook, but it's not actually me. Well, most of the time it is actually me, but I have now been taken over by somebody called Chronicles of Laura, who is one of my, she's one of my admins in the Discord, and she is into marketing, and she said, hey, do you want me to help, do marketing on your channel? Do you want me to help do promotion on Twitter and on your Facebook and on your Discord? And I said, how much? And she basically, no, I'm lying really. Well, I'm not lying. I'm making a bit more of a joke out of it than it was. She genuinely came to me and asked me if I would like any help with any of those things, because obviously I wasn't doing a particularly good job myself, and she said all I really want in return is to be able to play on your realms, which I was like, yeah, absolutely, no problem whatsoever. Let's do this. So she got herself set up on a couple of my accounts, and she's created a couple of admin accounts on the Discord, and she's been really, really helpful at being engaging. She's putting out tweets about announcements on the channel. She's been putting out tweets about merchandising and joining the realms and Patreon and stuff like that. And since she's started doing that, again, things have grown. We've got more patrons in, which is really nice. We've got more people in fact, we've got tons more people to the Discord. It's ridiculous how many people are joining the Discord since all of that. We've got more engagement on Twitter. And just as a whole, my channel is really blowing out of proportion compared to the line that it was on. If you look at the graph from how it was before to where it is now, that line is much more vertical than it was before. Before it was like a nice sort of lazy, horizontal, almost laid back to the point it wasn't going anywhere line, and now it's shooting right up. So I thank you so much, not only to Laura, not only to Slack, but also to everybody that helps make my channel what it is. Anybody that engages, anybody that comments, anybody that watches a video, hits the likes button, subscribes, joins the Discord, anything. Thank you very, very much. And thank you to the Truly Bedrock team. Thank you to the members for helping make Truly Bedrock what it is, because if that wasn't a thing, I wouldn't be where I am. So thank you very, very much. Anyway, that's less news. Oh, what kind of news? Yeah. So all of that aside, let's start talking about the actual news, which is the first one on my list of notes is 1.11 Village and Pillage started good and got worse. So in my last podcast, I made a comment to say that so far, at the point that I made that, the Village and Pillage had been really good update with very few bugs in it compared to the updates that came before that. Like 1.10 was really buggy, 1.9 was buggy, 1.8 was buggy, 1.11 seemingly, which was a huge overhaul update with all the villagers and the new mechanics and the raids and the pillagers and all that sort of stuff, at first glance seemed really good. It seemed like there were very few issues with it at all. But if you follow my channel, if you see all the work that I've done with the new villager trades and everything like that, you will see that actually there are some really big, nasty bugs in it that just make it very, very difficult to play with the new mechanics. So yeah, I'm not going to go into that now. I'm actually going to talk about that a little bit later on as part of one of the main discussions, but it's really weird to see Mojang, certainly for the Java edition of the game, actually doing a lot of firefighting with this. It's like they're not confident in the update they've put out, and they're making changes left, right, and centre. So they put out 1.14. It was a complete disaster with lighting issues and chunk loading issues and entities going missing. So they threw out a hotfix and changed a load of the mechanics that they'd already added in the main update. So they took all of that time, like a year or however long it was between 1.13 and 1.14, all that development time. They basically just made a load of quick changes and put out 1.14.1. And then they did it again, made a load of quick changes and put out 14.2. And now they're doing it again with 1.14.3. And they're changing iron golems, how they spawn. They've changed the mechanics of the villages. They've changed trading mechanics. They've changed gold farms. They've changed villagers, how they work with their workstations, how they gossip. It's like there was no, I don't know how to explain it. For all the other updates have said, yes, this is what Minecraft is now. This is the update. These are the new features. This is how it works. And no, we're not changing it. Unless it was broken, in which case they fixed it, but they've left the mechanics how it is. With this one, it's really nice that they're a lot more open and transparent and listening to the viewers and the watchers and the players. But it's like they've gone, we've put out this update. We're not happy with it. We're not confident with it. You guys are not happy with it. And we're going to try and change it. And every single time they release a update, they change like massive mechanics in the game that it's like they're not saying this is how it is and this is how it works now. They're saying, is this okay? Help, we don't really know what we're doing. And it's so weird to see that from a team that have always been so much like, this is Minecraft. This is how Minecraft is. This is the law on Minecraft. And this is what we say is what it is. For them to now be, it's nice that they're asking for the players' opinions, but just, it's like they're throwing ideas out there and just slapping new mechanics into the game willy-nilly without any thought or process. And it's a little bit frightening, to be honest, a little bit worrying. I mean, that seems to be only happening with Java Edition, which is great for the Java players that they're getting this constant level of feedback from the developers and these constant fixes and these constant updates. They are actually working really hard to make 1.14 decent. I think they don't want another repeat of the combat update where everyone's like, no, we don't like it, it's rubbish, put it back again. They stood their ground on that one to the point where they're now finally looking at doing a new combat update. But the Bedrock team, they've done hot fixes and they are fixing some of the bigger bugs, but they're not changing any of the mechanics in any of these fixes. They're not saying, oh yeah, villager trading's completely broken, so we're going to fix it. Here you go on a hot fix. They're basically going, we'll sort it in the future. Don't worry about it. It'll happen at some point, which is kind of the opposite feeling. We're getting that engagement from the Bedrock developers. They're talking to us on Twitter. They're talking to us about the bugs, but it feels like they're only fixing the surface layer rather than going into the depth of it and going, actually, yeah, that mechanic as a whole is broken and we need to work on it, like iron golem spawning. There's no point in even trying to build an iron farm at the minute because you get nothing from it unless you can AFK at it 24 hours a day. And then even if you do that, you get almost nothing for it. And they're not addressing that. They're not going, oh, yeah, that's broken, we need to fix it. They're just going, well, we'll see what happens in the future. And it doesn't fill you with any confidence at that point that things are going to get better. So at least on Java Edition, the fact that they're throwing out all of these different changes and asking, is this okay? You feel like, oh, maybe they're not confident in it, which loses your confidence in the product a little bit, but at least you feel like it's heading somewhere better. With Bedrock Edition, you're just thinking, you sort of sat on the fence going, are they going to do anything about this or are they not? Am I just going to have to accept that this is the way it is and play with it like this? Or should I just hold off on the designs that I've got and wait for them to hopefully fix it one day? And neither. I think there needs to be some sort of combination with both. I think the development teams need to come together and go, yeah, neither of those are the best ways of dealing with things. Let's do this properly. Let's get some organisation. I'm not saying they're disorganised. It's not saying they're doing it not doing it properly. But they've had a lot on their plates this year with Minecraft Earth, Minecraft Dungeons, with the failings of Minecraft Story Mode and all of these updates and all of the platforms and Switch getting involved in the mix and everything else going on. They've had a lot on their plate. So you can't blame things for being a little bit disorganised at the minute. But we need some confidence back in the game, and we need some confidence that things are going to get better. When good updates come out, it's great if there's a few bugs that get fixed. When bad updates come out, like the mechanics and the changes are generally poorly received, like I think they have pretty much been globally for the Village and Pillage update, I think they need to seriously address that. And I don't think the Village and Pillage update is a bad idea, but there's been so many massive changes to the mechanics and how the game works, and the fact that the new crafting tables mean that you can't work with items in the same way as you used to. And I don't mean like you've got to craft them on different benches. I mean, if you put down a composter 50 blocks away or 100 blocks away from your iron farm's no longer going to work because one of the villagers is going to connect to it at random. It's a whole new very difficult layer of the game that doesn't work in the way you expect it to. So it's not like you can even learn how it works and work around it. You're just too scared to do anything with any of these new features because they don't work and they keep breaking, that it makes you not want to use them. And when they've got a huge update like the Village and Pillage and people are put off from using those new features, that's a really bad step and a really bad direction for the game to be going in. When you're going, hey, this is what we've done. We've spent a year doing this. Oh, wait, no one wants to use any of those new features. Oh, dear. So a rollback would be nice to 1.13 in a new direction would be great, but I don't think that's going to happen. We need a solution because at the moment what we've got is not acceptable, really, and it's not right. But anyway, doom and gloom aside, let's talk about the positives. Talking of bug fixes and problems and things like that, I've been asking for ages and ages and ages. I've been talking about it in my podcast, been talking about it on my channel. I wish they would just stop, take a breath, and just take some time to fix bugs on Bedrock Edition. And they're doing that. They are actually doing that. 1.12, which hasn't come out instantly after 1.11, which has broken the trend of how quickly the Bedrock big updates come out after each other. They're still throwing out new beta versions of that. Even today, one came out today with, hey, look, we've added these bug fixes into it. And they're literally 1.12 is a bug fix update. There's no new mechanics. There's no new blocks. There's no new features in it from what I've seen. It is all just, we're taking some time to fix some problems. Now, the bug lists, the bug tracker on it, if you like, or the patch notes for each of the beta updates is very thin on the ground. There's not a lot of information there about what they've actually fixed. But the fact that they are taking that time to reorganize, to address it, and to get rid of some of the bigger bugs in the game before they start working on an entire new feature set for another update is really, really refreshing. And it's it's just really good to know that Mojang, especially the Bedrock team, have agreed and gone, you know what, look, we're pushing things out too fast, we're making a mess, let's just take a break, fix it, get these big bugs out of the way, and then let's start working on the next set. And it's great. And I've been banging on about it for so long. Maybe they heard me. Maybe they've just had that feeling themselves as well. I don't know, but I am very, very happy about it. More things like this would be appreciated. It's absolutely brilliant. One of the things that I've heard on the grapevine from this is that in the future, they intend to have more parity between Java and Bedrock features that are upcoming in the game, as opposed to fixing the previous features like even the Village and Pillage. I think there's less of a desire for the teams to actually bring those in line with each other, but certainly it seems like they're keen on making sure future feature updates are in line with each other a little bit more. And there's a massive disparity between 1.11 for Bedrock and 1.14 for Java Edition, even though they're still technically the same update. Bedrock's still missing loads of stuff like foxes and certain blocks and certain items. The trading is completely different. The iron golem spawn is completely different. The cat spawn is different. The way the villages work is completely different. The way the villagers interact and work is completely different. It's like they both had a brief of what would be nice. These would be lovely features to have for this update, and then both teams went off and just did it completely separately, because even the trades are different between the different professions. It's crazy. But maybe they'll fix it, maybe they won't. At this point, I don't really care, because I'm so sick of villagers and pillagers that I couldn't care less about those in a minute. I'm quite happy to just completely block them out of my gameplay and just focus on other things. Finally, in the news, I want to talk very briefly now about Minecraft Dungeons and Minecraft Earth, because I'm going to go into a lot of detail later on those. They both sound really good. They both sound really positive. It's a bit confusing that they had Minecon Earth and then they changed that, and now we're getting Minecraft Earth and Minecon Live, especially considering we had Minecraft Pocket Edition and Minecraft, and then we changed to Minecraft Java and Minecraft instead, and it swapped round us. It's like Mojang are determined to keep us as confused as possible with all of the different names for these things, rather than just coming up with a new one. Well, I know Minecraft Earth sounds pretty good, but they could have quite easily just come up with something else that didn't mean they had to mess about with the Minecon Earth thing. Why couldn't they go, oh, we'll call it Minecraft Go, or Minecraft World or Minecraft Touch or Minecraft AR or, there's loads of things they could have called it, but they decided, no, I like Minecraft Earth, so let's ruin the other one's name that we've had for the last few years now and switch it round, which is fine. People are entitled to make decisions, but when you've got millions, if not billions of people watching you and watching what you're doing, it doesn't look ever so professional, in my opinion. It looks a little bit like, people can't seem to make their minds up or make decisions. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. That's by the by. The games themselves look good. Dungeons especially looks amazing. I'm really excited about Dungeons. That actually looks like the type of game that I would like to play. I hope it's as good as it looks, and I hope, considering it's going to take almost another year before it even is released, that it's going to be stable. I really hope it's not going to suffer from the same sort of bug issues that Minecraft Bedrock Edition or Minecraft Java Edition have. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Minecraft Earth, I think, sounds good in theory, but it's going to not work. I think it will last a month or two. I think younger players might play it for a bit more, but I think it's going to be a big flop, to be perfectly honest with you. And my reasoning for that is that things like AR and VR are great when the technology works and it's in its optimal position and condition. But when you've got the real world and real people and real devices that have issues or low batteries or, cracks in the screens, or maybe they're just a bit old and a bit tired, things can go wrong. So they've shown it and they've demoed it. They had a really nice PR video on it where things were just in the world and sticking out of people's houses and everything was really fixed and in position. And your view of it was as if you could see it all. What in reality is actually going to be, you're going to be looking at this through an iPad screen or a phone screen, which is kind of like, the way I see it is, imagine you go to the front door of your house on the inside of the house, open up the letterbox from the inside and look out. That's the kind of view you're going to have of the world. You're going to be looking at this world through a tiny weeny little rectangular slit, which is your phone and your screen, that you've then got to move around to try and see these things. I don't think in reality it's going to look or feel as immersive as as they've tried to say it's going to be in the advertising, to be honest with you. The other thing is the technology around the iPhone AR tech, I think, is going to fail miserably, because on the demo they had on the stage and the keynote at the WWDC keynote, it was on a perfectly black flat background, and even at that point, the woman's legs were like disappearing and flickering in and out even on that, and the guy that was filming it was shaking the camera. Now, it looked like, or it was designed, I think, to look like he was nervous maybe, or just not very good at holding the camera, but the way it was shaking, it was quite clearly intentionally shaking that camera so that we didn't notice that the actual build that was on the stage was wobbling about and it wasn't fixed in position. They've got geolocation technology, which is supposed to be basically fixing your builds to a particular point in the world, but that only works as well as a GPS signal works, and a GPS signal is pretty good, but it's not millimeter specific, it's not meter specific or centimeter specific. So your things that you build are going to move about in the world. They're going to look a bit weird. They're going to look like they're slipping about. They're going to look like they're in roughly the same area they should be, but I think it's not going to be that smooth, immersive experience that they're leading us to believe it's going to be. I think it's going to be really awkward to use, particularly for people like me that are a little bit older. Kids will get it. Kids will get into it. Their imagination will take them away with it. They've already got the dexterity to use the phones in that way. I can't play Minecraft on a touchscreen device just because I can't. I'm too old. It just doesn't work. I've tried really hard to get to grips with the controls, and I find it really frustrating. My natural go-to is a keyboard and mouse. I'm not even very good with a controller, analog sticks on a controller. And it's lack of experience more than anything, but I'm at that age where I don't want to learn these things for something like that. So for an older audience particularly, it's going to be awkward. I know it's aimed at kids, and I know it's going to be great for kids, but kids also get bored really easily. And when their parents are saying, hey, no, you're not taking that brand new iPad outside to have a look at all of these builds because you'll drop it and smash the screen, I think the idea's lovely, but I think I just don't think it's going to go very well. And I'll talk a little bit more on that later. I say I'm going to talk more on that later. We're a long way into this podcast. I've not even started the main discussions yet. Could be a long one, guys. Finally, in the news, I just want to say that for my Who Killed Steve series, if you don't follow me on YouTube, basically I've done like a spin-off of my original survival or original Bedrock world called Who Killed Steve. There's 3 episodes out of 4 so far, and I've decided for the 4th one, rather than doing the same thing I've already done, I'm going to do it in the form of an audio book, or at least a book and an audio book. And I'm going to not just do that one, I'm going to go back to the beginning and rewrite the whole thing. And it's not just going to be a short one, it's going to be a nice, big, chunky for me anyway, because I've never written a book before, but a good, decent length book / audio book. It'd be lovely to think if I do a good job at some point, I might get that published, but I doubt it very much. It's just going to be for my fans. You'll be able to download it online and listen to it at your convenience. I've no idea when it'll be out. I've written a handful of pages already. Well, I say a handful. I've written about 12, 13 pages already, which isn't loads. But yeah, I'm not rushing it, and I'm doing it in my spare time, which means it doesn't get worked on very much. So expect it realistically Christmas or later. But I'll try to do it quicker than that if I get more time in the meantime. Right, anyway, before I go on, I would just like to say, as usual, please, if you want to get a hold of me, if you want to talk to me, if you want to ask me a question, if you want to discuss anything that I've talked about in this podcast, you can get hold of me on Twitter at FoxyNoTail. I have a YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/FoxyNoTail, where I make weekly, no, weekly is the wrong word, not daily, not quite daily Minecraft content on there. I've got a Patreon account, I've got a Patreon page where you can pledge to me and join my world and support me if that's all you want to do. Patreon pledges start at $1 per month. I have a website which is FoxyNoTail.com, which you can go to for lots of information and details about all of the things that I get up to and all of my worlds and world downloads and all that sort of stuff. And I have a Discord which you can come and join and talk to me. There is lots of exciting things always going on in the Discord, particularly in the VIP lounges. Not trying to plug my Patreon there too much, but that's where all the conversations seem to happen anyway. So yeah, feel free to pop along to any of those things and come and say hello. All the links for those will be in the descriptions below. Right, I guess at this point it is time to start talking about my first discussion, which is copyright. Having said that, I have completely forgotten to do the Q&A on this podcast. I've literally got to the end of this podcast, which is roughly around about an hour and 15 minutes long at this particular moment in time, and I've come back to edit it and realised I've forgotten to do the Q&A. How did I manage to do that? So I'm going to do this very, very quickly. There are quite a few questions. I'm sorry I can't go into a great deal of detail, but this podcast is going on way too long. So first of all, the question was written on my Discord from Creative One Miner, and they say Geraldine and Colin will show up when you find a mansion ? So basically, where are Geraldine and Colin, and when will they turn up? Will they turn up when I find a woodland mansion on Truly Bedrock? No, they're not going to turn up when I find a woodland mansion. I've got an idea of when they're going to turn up in terms of the storyline, but it won't be anytime soon. But they will be coming back. They will definitely be coming back to Truly Bedrock. The JT Crafter asked me 2 questions on Discord. The first one was, I know you spoke about your opinions on coloured concrete slabs, but what do you think about the neutral coloured concrete slab? If we want to do a futuristic or white build, we have to collect quartz. Do you think we'll get more white / neutral coloured slabs? Well, that's a bit of a difficult question. It can't be coloured if it's white or neutral, but I think I know what you mean. You mean like more sort of lighter or plain slabs? No, I don't think so. I think we'll be lucky if we get a great deal of more in terms of slabs and stairs. Hopefully they'll finish it off, because some blocks have been given stairs and walls but not slabs. Some have got walls and slabs but no stairs, and some have got stairs and slabs but no walls. And it'd be nice if they finished off the set, so at least we knew we had a full set of each one. I don't think they'll do the coloured ones, just because it's more choice isn't always a good thing. More choice leads to more indecision, which leads to a lack of creativity. When you've got a limited number of options, you are forced into a specific way of doing things. Even though you can use your imagination and create infinite amount of things from that, you are more, it's easier to decide what to do when you've got less options, and therefore you can be more creative. Your creativity naturally flows. Mojang are really keen on limiting what blocks we have available so that you are pushed into doing it. And that's something, if you've ever played something like Terraria, a lot of players really like Terraria because they've got so much choice. A lot of players are really good at making decisions and deciding what they want and leveling up through the game and getting the next best thing and collecting all the armor. But a lot of people also find it overwhelming, particularly when I played Terraria. I found it really difficult to remember where all the blocks came from, how to get hold of them all, what existed, and as a result, it put me off building anything because I have to keep remembering it all the time. Whereas Minecraft, they've got a very select bunch of blocks and items that you can work from, and it's easy to remember how they all work and what they all go with, and you can create your own block palettes and designs from that. So as much as it would be nice to have the choice of more things, it's nice as well that we don't, if you think about it. Question number 2 from the JT Crafter was, I remember you spoke about bamboo being too overpowered in an earlier podcast and said that Mojang would need to introduce another challenging part of the game to help balance out the auto/grindy balance. Now that we have 1.11, how do you think they went with that? That's a really good question. The bamboo isn't quite as OP as they made out, particularly on Bedrock Edition, because flying machines, although are possible, are a bit dodgy. And yeah, bone meal's not as easy to get hold of on Bedrock as it is on Java Edition either, because things spawn less. Although, having said that, there are loads of ways you can get bone meal on there with skeleton spawners and the composters and things like that. It doesn't seem like bamboo's as much as of a replacement fuel as I thought it was going to be. A lot of people are trying to use it. A lot of people are building bamboo farms to make the use out of it, but it doesn't seem a great deal better than using something like a kelp farm, to be honest. I know it cuts out the crafting point of it, but I don't know, it doesn't smelt much, and if you run out of it halfway through smelting, it sort of resets the smelting process. It's not as great as I thought it was going to be, to be honest. And in terms of adding more challenging parts into the game, well, they've completely ruined villagers and trading and the whole pillager thing, with pillagers just turning up and making life difficult. Yeah, I think it's not really the balance I was imagining it was going to be, but it's certainly, they've added a level of difficulty into the game, particularly with villagers not being able to trade as often or trade as many resources. There's less desire to have these automatic farms now because there's no point, because you don't need to, well, not that you don't need to trade the items, but you can't trade the items. Chris from GGKM also asked me on Discord, how do you feel about having more people on Truly Bedrock? I'd imagine it brings a whole new dynamic to the realm. It's, as I said earlier, it's a little bit disjointed at the moment. The new people certainly are filling the gaps a little bit, but it feels more empty, to be honest, the world, compared to how Season 0 did. We were so close to each other on Season 0. We was always bumping into each other, always seeing each other doing stuff, and it made us want to contact each other and do voice chat with each other in game and find out what we were up to and work together on things. Whereas now, even with another 5 people, we're all spread a lot more thinly on the ground. And the other thing is, there's a few members at the moment that are not making as much content as others because they've got different things going on in their lives. So there's that level of quietness as well. So Season 1 was a desperate rush for us all to get as many videos out as possible and make sure the whole thing worked. And it was really fun because of that. But now we know the format's a good one. We're not as desperately pushing the content, which might backfire on us in the end, to be honest with you. But hopefully it won't. Hopefully it'll level out and we can keep it going at this pace, because it's a nice pace. I just think we need a little bit more togetherness to bring us together a bit more, really. You know, maybe we could do something like a UHC or some mini games or something, or a different thing elsewhere to get that chemistry flowing between us all a bit more. A few more forced scenarios where we have to work with people that we might not have worked with before might be not a bad thing. Draco says, Foxy, do you have a big base planned out? I mean, once the villagers stop being a pain. Yes and no. I haven't got a base planned out as such, but I have a direction that I want to go in, and I know a style that I want to build in. I thought I would already be building it by now, but as time's gone on and I've done different things, I never thought for a second me and Slack would be teaming up and doing all these farms and things like that. So yeah, things have gone in a slightly different direction, but I will be coming back round to where I thought I was going to be originally. It's just taking a little bit longer. So no, I don't have a design, but I've got an idea of where I'm going to be heading with it. And that's generally how I work. I don't plan anything out in terms of video content or anything. It's very organic the way I do something. I know I'm aiming at a certain direction, but how I get there is organic. And I think that shows in my video, because I'll often get distracted and do other things, or I'll often decide, I say at the beginning of the video, today we're going to do this, and then we actually turn out we're doing something else because something cropped up. And I enjoy that. I enjoy that level of, I'm just as, I'm figuring out the video, playing it like you are watching it. You're like, oh, what's going to come next? I'm exactly the same. I don't know, because I haven't planned it out, and I like it that way. And finally, Riker says, will you be designing and building your own raid farm? And the answer to that is no. I think raid farms it's a bit like AFK fishing. They are far too overpowered. You get far too much stuff from them. They're far too easy to do. And you'll also find out later in the podcast that they also have a nasty bug hiding in them. And it's not the one that can crash your game or slow down your realm either. That's a nasty bug that I don't actually mention later on. No, they've got a nasty bug which can trigger bad omen anywhere in your world to any of your players miles and miles away and start a raid at their own village or at their own base, which is not good. So you'll find out more about that later. Anyway, now what I'm going to do is cut back into talking about, what was it I was going to talk about? Copyright. Oh yeah, YouTube copyright and all that sort of good stuff. So enjoy. So this discussion's going to be a bit of a quick discussion, to be honest. There's not a massive amount of ground to cover on this. And you might be wondering, well, why do you want to talk about copyright? I'm not going to go on another rant about Article 13, although a lot of people seem to think that's all been long lost and forgotten about. It's not. It's still happening. It's still ticking over in the background. Things are going to change over the next 2 years, but probably not anytime soon. I'm not talking about Article 13 today. I'm not talking about anything to do with that. I'm going to talk about YouTube's Content ID copyright system, which basically is a system that is partly automatic, partly manual, depending on who you are, that basically looks for pieces of music, pieces of audio, visual stuff in people's videos and checks to see if somebody else already owns that content. So, for instance, if you put a song in a video that is not your song, that somebody else says is their song, that person can claim that that's their song and therefore start claiming a little bit of your revenue from your channel. And if your channel is monetized, like mine is, they can take a little bit of your money. Now, this is a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's a good thing because it stops anybody just spamming their videos with popular entertainment, popular music and trying to get views based off other people's work. So it's great on that, but it also has big problems, particularly for people like Mumbo Jumbo, for instance, who had a really big issue on his channel recently. He was using some music on his channel that somebody told him he could use. He got it from a music person who had made a remix of something else and gave Mumbo basically the license to use it on all his videos. Unfortunately, it turns out that the guy that he got that from didn't actually have the rights to use the sample in the first place, so therefore all of Mumbo's videos got claimed by the person, the original owners of that music, who then started taking revenue from Mumbo Jumbo. Now, that's bad on one sense, but it's fair to a certain extent as well. It's not, well, it's fair and it's unfair. It's fair because Mumbo could have intentionally done that, which he didn't, but it means that the company that found their music to be used in all of those other people's videos or all of Mumbo's videos can start actually saying, well, you're monetizing our stuff, you're earning money off our work, so we want a cut of that. They're not taking all of Mumbo's money. They're probably taking a very small amount of it, to be honest. But because his channel's so big and because it's on so many videos and because he earns so much from YouTube, that amount will be a lot of money in total. It'll be a very small amount per video, but overall it will be a very large amount for Mumbo Jumbo. So I can understand why that's a problem for someone of a channel of his size. For smaller channels like mine, it really isn't an issue. And you might actually have noticed in a few of my recent videos, I've actually used copyright music. I've used the Back to the Future theme tune, which is not my music to use. I've used Jamiroquai's Deeper Underground song, which was not mine to use. And I've also used the Bad Day by Daniel Powter's song. Now, all of those I did not have permission to use, and I use them in my channel anyway, because as far as I'm concerned, it makes no difference to me. I earn such a small amount of money per video that when they claim my video for that content, they take maybe 1 or 2% of the revenue from each video, which is nothing. It's pennies compared to what Mumbo Jumbo is probably giving away thousands of dollars. For me, it literally is pennies. So when I first put the Back to the Future theme in my video, I was a little bit worried that my video might get taken down, and the owner of that music could have quite easily flagged it and gone, we don't want our music associated with this video, and requested I took my video down. So there was a risk there that I might have had to take that video down, in which case what I'd have done is re-edited it, took the music out, put it back up without it in. Fortunately, they didn't say that. They basically went to YouTube and said, hey, that's our music. Can you please give us a share of the revenue? But this guy's fine to use it in his video if he wants to. And YouTube basically sent me an email saying, just to let you know, there's a copyright claim on this. If you want to dispute it, you can do, but we suggest you don't do. You can carry on using it without any issue, but a percentage of your revenue is going to go to these guys. And I just thought, well, that's fine, because that video to this date has probably only earned $10. Even if they earned 10% of that, that's $1. That's cheaper than it would be for me to buy that music. And it's also a lot cheaper, like thousands of pounds cheaper than it would have been for me to buy a license for that music for public use. There's two different types of things. It's like, if you buy music to listen to, you can only listen to that yourself. You can't publicly share it. You can't decide, I'm going to put that in my video, or I'm going to let people listen to it in my shop, or I'm going to put it on the radio, or anything like that. You only have the license to listen to that music yourself. If you want to share music, if you want other people to hear that music, you have to buy either a license to play that music anywhere, or you have to have a music license. In the UK, like pubs and entertainment places and restaurants, they have to pay thousands of pounds a month to be able to have a radio on or a TV on. It's called an entertainment license, which covers those sorts of costs. Now, for me to get a license to play the Back to the Future theme in my video would have been impossible, because first of all, I'd have had to contact whoever owns that music, which A, I don't know who it was, and B, they're not going to speak to somebody like me on the phone. And second of all, if I said I want to be able to play that song in my video, they'd have been like, yeah, that's fine, but we want, I don't know, $500 or $1,000 or whatever it would be. Doing it this way, because I've got such a small channel, it's cost me $1. So I'm thinking, well, I've not lost anything. That's absolutely fine. So then I thought, well, there was a point in mine and Slack's nether raiding video where we went end raiding, and Slack said something about going deeper underground, and it made me think of that song. And I thought, well, I can play that in my video without any issue. Now, there is a small risk that Jamiroquai or whoever owns the music might turn around and go, you can't use that in your video, we want you to take your video down. Again, which point I just take the video down, re-edit it, upload it again without that in, or they go, yeah, do what you like, just give us a little bit of your money, which is fine, and I did. So, and then I did exactly the same thing in one of my recent videos with Daniel Powter's Bad Day, because it just fit perfectly for the music. And what's nice about this for me, while my channel's small, is I can actually use all of this copyright music without any risk of losing my channel, without any risk of paying out thousands of pounds or thousands of dollars. I just can get away with it because it's fine. It's not costing me anything. It's costing me less per song than it would be to buy the song through something like iTunes or online. So that's good. That's really good for me. It'll be bad for me when my channel gets bigger if I continue to do it, but right now it's absolutely fine. Now, a lot of people worry that with copyright claims that if you get 3 claims, you're going to get banned. It's not how that works. It's if you get 3 copyright strikes that your channel gets banned. Now, a strike is if you dispute the copyright claim. Let's say the Back to the Future guys claimed my video, which they did, and then I went, hey, no, I've got the rights to use that, and I'm lying, and YouTube finds out that I'm lying, then that's a strike, because they'll go, no, you don't own that music. We know you don't own that music, so therefore that's a strike against your account. Then if I get 2 more strikes, they will remove my channel. But if I don't dispute it, because I know I don't own that music and I know I'm using it without permission, I don't lose anything other than a few, well, not even a few dollars, $1 at most. So it really isn't an issue. So I'm going to keep doing it. And I know not that long ago I did say, I will never ever use copyright content in any of my videos. And here I am spamming my videos with it. But why not? Why not abuse the system that's there to be abused while I can still do it? Anyway, right, that's enough talking about that. In a moment, for you, I'm going to be talking about the Village and Pillage update, but right now I've got to stop recording this because I'm about to do a live stream on the City of Foxton, so I'll be back with you guys. Well, for you, it'd be right now, but for me, it'll be probably tomorrow. Okay, I'm back, and that live stream could have gone a little bit better. Sadly, I had a few issues with the audio. I was trying out a new microphone, not the one I'm using for this. This is my proper microphone, and I didn't have the levels set up. So when I did a little bit of Discord chat with some other people in, and when I played music in the background, it was all kinds of weird. So sadly, that live stream isn't going to go public on my channel, but what it has made me think is that I ought to set up a second channel to put things like live streams and stuff on so it doesn't affect my main channel. And the reason people do that is because live streams, they get a lot of views over time, but people only watch a couple of minutes at the beginning in general to suss out whether they're going to stick around, and therefore it affects your watch time. So YouTube looked at it and goes, oh, people haven't watched many minutes of that, so we're going to assume that's content that people don't really like, and it sort of damages your channel a little bit. So if you move those things onto a second channel, that channel you don't really care about making money on or anything like that, or it getting subscribed. It's just there so your fans can access that information or those videos without it affecting your main ones. Okay, so in the new 1.11 Village and Pillage update for Minecraft Bedrock Edition, there have been a lot of changes to a lot of the mechanics. And at first, as I mentioned earlier, it seemed like it was going to be really good. It seemed not very buggy compared to previous updates, and it seemed pretty good until you actually got deep into working it out. And I spent a long time working on the mechanics for iron farms and villager trading halls, and I thought I'd cracked it. I thought I'd come up with a really good, solid solution, and I built it on the truly Bedrock realm, and I made a couple of videos for it. One of them went out of my channel, the other one I never even bothered. It sat there recorded, waiting to go, but there's no point putting it out because the game broke. Basically, Bedrock Edition had a massive bug in it, and I say had, I'm still not convinced that bug's gone, although the developers told me that the 1.11.4 hotfix fixed it, but I'm yet to see any proof of that. To be honest, the bug was that bad, it put me off playing with villagers altogether. And basically what happened was, got my trading hall perfectly set up, got everything working, the iron farm within it was working great as well. It was a combined iron farm and trading hall. Got all my villagers to the right trades that I wanted to deal with, and it took hours and hours and hours. And then within just a few hours of being AFK there, the whole thing broke because my villagers decided they were going to attach themselves to a workstation, which was literally thousands of blocks away in the world. So there was basically a bug in the game that where a villager could detect a workstation thousands of blocks away in another loaded area of the world, which basically made all of my villagers forget their beds. It made them all forget their workstations. It just broke the entire thing. And it meant that the only way I could deal with it would be to have to start the entire thing again. And I just really didn't fancy doing that at that point. It just really annoyed me. So I left it. And since the hotfix, it has improved, but the villagers still won't sleep in their beds. They still won't connect to their workstation. But I do get iron golem spawn in there now. So that was weird. So we've got that one. We've got something else that's really similar, which isn't too prevalent. Not many people know about it, but it's if you've got a pillager raid farm, because that's one of the really, really amazing things of Bedrock Edition over Java is that you can have a villager or a pillager raid farm, or a really good one that gives you thousands of emeralds per hour. They're so OP, it's ridiculous. The problem is, though, if you are auto-killing the pillagers, like using a trident killer or something like that, somebody else not anywhere near the raid farm, literally the other side of the world, thousands of blocks away, if they're at a village, all of a sudden they get bad omen and a raid instantly starts at their village. So this happened on the truly Bedrock realm twice. First of all, it happened to Slack Lizard and Daphne Lane. So Slack was basically just walking past DB's raid farm, and it had a trident killer active, and the trident killer killed a pillager captain. Now, the trident belonged to DB, so it shouldn't have affected Slack or Daphne at all because it was nothing to do with them. It wasn't their trident. They hadn't placed the trident. But because DB wasn't logged in, a bad omen effect basically shot across the map to the nearest player that was near a village and started a raid at Daphne's village. Now, Daphne has spent a long time building this village, and to have a raid all of a sudden just on it for no reason, the Ravagers trampled all her crops, they were trying to kill all her villagers and things like that. It was an absolute nightmare, and they had to, basically fight together to get rid of it, which made for quite entertaining content to watch back, but it must have been really annoying for Daphne to have to then sort all of that out afterwards, just because Slack happened to be walking past, and loaded a pillager which got killed by somebody else's trident that wasn't even logged into the game. And then later on, a few weeks later, or a couple of weeks later, Silent Whisper mentioned to everybody in the Discord that all of a sudden a raid had started at his village, and the same sort of thing had happened. Tiz Tom was AFK at his raid farm, and although, we've got no actual proof this is what's happened, this is the only thing we can think, he was activating raids and AFK killing pillager captains, and all of a sudden bad omens and a raid struck at Silent Whisper's base, which was in a completely different area. Again, hundreds if not thousands of blocks away from where Tiz was. So it's really, really not good at the moment that there are these huge bugs really, really badly affecting multiplayer Minecraft, and Realms in particular. I mean, these things probably are there on single player worlds, or even like single player worlds that are open to your friends, but on Realms they're really prevalent, and it's terrible, to be honest with you. It really puts you off using any of the mechanics. So not to mention all of the raid issues, like pillagers getting stuck in blocks, or stuck underground, or they don't actually turn up, so you spend ages looking for them, or if they go into the nether and it breaks the raid. There's loads of weird stuff going on like that. Iron golems are broken. They end up spawning in the floor or inside slabs, or just in totally weird random places. They spawn on blocks that are unspawnable blocks, so that's not very good. Slab placing is broken yet again. If you try and walk back with a line of slabs, they all of a sudden change what position they're going to be. They go from being a top slab to a bottom slab, or vice versa. Then there's the trading disparity between Bedrock and Java. I did a video about how much more expensive and time consuming it was to level up a Bedrock villager compared to a Java one, and how much more expensive it was trading with them, which makes trading with them completely pointless. There's the bugs with the fact that villagers just completely disconnect to their workstations or their beds whenever the area gets loaded or unloaded, because they decide, well, basically the way the game orders which is the main villager, or which order the villagers go in, is by like a randomly assigned ID behind the scenes. And when the game unloads that area and reloads it again, sometimes it reassigns different IDs to the villagers, so they just end up in a different order, which means all of a sudden they want to connect to different workstations, because the workstations have also got a different order as well, and the top villager wants to connect with the top workstation. So if one of them goes out of order, all of a sudden that villager decides he doesn't want his workstation anymore, he wants the guy next to him or the guy down the road from him, because the new order says that's the workstation he needs to work towards or needs to join with. And it's the same for beds. So it's an absolute nightmare. You cannot have anything long-term when it comes to villagers unless you just have them completely free range. Stick a bunch of workstations out in the ocean, in the open, and just let your villagers go to whichever one they want. That's fine, but that just means it's going to be chaos. You can never have a decent trading hall or an organised area, and again it just puts you off wanting to play with the villagers. It puts you off wanting to trade with them. It puts you off wanting to have anything to do with them. If you make a farm nearby, they want to connect to your new workstation you've put down for your farm. It's an absolute nightmare. And in my world, I don't even sleep. I don't even put a bed down in anywhere near my area because one of my villagers wants to connect to it, which just upsets that villager because I get in it after he's tried to connect to it rather than his own bed. So that's ridiculous. Iron golem spawning's been completely nerfed. The most you can get from one iron farm at a time is 32 ingots per hour. At this particular moment in time, with the current understanding of the mechanics, and you can just about squeeze in two iron golem farms side by side if you do them miles away from each other, but you can't get more than that. So the most you can possibly get per hour is about 64 iron ingots, which isn't very much. And then considering when you go AFK, it all messes up anyway. It's pointless doing it. And then cat spawning. Cats every 4 beds you have in the area, you'll get a cat regardless of if you've got villagers there or not. So cats are just everywhere. And the other thing with cats is they don't even need a village to spawn at. They'll just spawn out in the random. On Truly Bedrock, there's an area near my base with no villagers, no beds, no workstations anywhere near it, and cats constantly spawn there. And then again, not too far from that as well, at Slack Lizard's base, he's got a farm. He's got no villagers, no workstations. Oh, he has got workstations, actually, and his 1 bed, but no villagers or anything anywhere nearby, and yet he gets cats spawning all the time as well. So it's completely broken. I'm not saying this because I want to put down the developers or anything like that. I'm not saying this in a negative light towards the developers. I'm saying this in a sense of massive disappointment in the game, and where does this take us? Because you've gone from having what people can understand, mechanics that people can go, oh, that's how it works, great, okay, I understand that, I can work with it, to having something that's so random and so chaotic that you can't learn the mechanics and work with them, which for someone like me that needs structure and needs to understand something, it just completely puts me off the game. I don't want to play with villagers, I don't want to play with pillagers, I don't want to play with the new workstations. It just frustrates me that it's so difficult. And the other issue on from that is because now trading is so difficult, and because making trading halls is so difficult, and because the villager trades are so difficult, you no longer have that desire to want to make big farms like melon and pumpkin farms or zombie farms or farms for trading with villagers to get emeralds. That desire is completely gone. And the other reason that's completely gone is because you've got these pillager raid farms which are so easy to build and so OP. You can get like literally thousands of emeralds in a few hours. And like, again, on Truly Bedrock, people are selling full beacon bases, which is like 2.5 stacks of emerald blocks for 20 diamonds because they're just so cheap. So if you can get emeralds so easily with putting no effort in, there's absolutely no desire whatsoever to trade with villagers other to have maybe one that sells mending books and one that sells unbreaking books. And that's it. So otherwise, other than them looking nice with their new skins, villagers are completely useless and completely pointless because there's no need for them anymore, which is a real shame that the focus of this update has actually created an update which removes that focus from the game. It's almost like they would have been just better off going, hey, we're not having villagers anymore because it's pointless. Here's a load of free emeralds. Because that's how it works. And as much as the developers are actively working on these bugs harder than they ever were, they're really vocal about what they're going to be dealing with, nobody, as far as I can see, has put their hands up and said, yeah, these are really big issues we're aware of and we are going to be dealing with them. It seems very much like, well, yeah, it wasn't as good as we hoped it would be, but let's move on to the next one. Whereas, like I said earlier with Java Edition, they're going, oh no, we made a big mistake. Just throw new ideas out there, keep slapping on different features, keep changing the mechanics and see what sticks. It's so bizarre, the black and white between the two development teams, that it's like, I don't know, it's like two completely different companies working on two completely different games, which I guess in a way it is, but it's bizarre. It really does strike me as bizarre. The only other thing from the update that I think is a big problem, or it's not a problem as such, but it's a massively wasted opportunity, is the Wandering Trader. And I've heard a lot of people say this as well. I'm not trying to jump on the bandwagon, but I just see it. They appear all the time. They're always turning up. Their llamas turn up because when they spawn in, they'll often spawn in a place where one of their llamas instantly detaches from the Wandering Trader because it's like too far away, or the trader spawns on a block lower down than the llama and the llama's higher up, and basically the lead snaps. The second the Wandering Trader lets go of the llamas, that llama's then stays in the world. When the Wandering Trader disappears again, the llama stays there, which means the world is just littered with these llamas, which is, okay, it's nice to have llamas, but those llamas are useless. You can't do anything with them. You can lead them about, but I don't think you can put chests on them, and you certainly can't breed them. And because the Wandering Traders spawn in so regularly, you just end up with tons of llamas at your base, which just makes it look untidy, and it's just so frustrating that you spend all this time working on having a perfect looking base, just the way you want it to be in your game, your sandbox game that was designed for you to create things, for the game to go, here, let's just have a load of scruffy llamas wandering about and making a mess of everything. And it's just really annoying. It's just an annoyance. That wouldn't be so bad if the Wandering Trader was actually useful, but I've never traded with one because I don't want to trade with one. They're completely pointless. The trades they give you are absolute rubbish. They're expensive stuff like 4 emeralds for 1 piece of kelp or 2 emeralds for a piece of sugarcane. Why? What is the point? Why are the developers adding that into the game and going, yeah, that sounds fair, that sounds good? Why not give us something useful, unique, that's not, that's difficult to get? Why not have him sell us a really good pickaxe or a really good sword for, a lot of emeralds and have them more really turn up? So when one does appear, you're rushing over to him with your emeralds and like the ice cream van. I don't know if this is a thing in the United States, but in the UK, there's an ice cream van, right? And in the summer, the ice cream van, you can hear it coming from miles away because it's got its tunes, these little song that it plays on these horns, and you can hear it coming, and the second you hear it, you run downstairs and you say to your mum and dad, Mum and Dad, I need some money for an ice cream, and you run in the street and you go and buy the ice cream, and it's exciting because it doesn't happen very often, particularly in Britain with us having very short summers. You see maybe the ice cream van 2 or 3 times a year if you're lucky, and it's so exciting as a kid when the ice cream man turns up. That's how the Wandering Trader should be. It should be really exciting when he's there going, oh my, I could get some really amazing stuff, let me go and grab my emerald. But you don't. You go, oh God, another one here that's going to lose his llamas, getting in the way of what I'm trying to do, making the area look untidy, and he's going to have absolutely nothing of any value that I want to buy. What's the point? If there was a turn off Wandering Trader button, I would turn it off because I think it's completely pointless. Absolutely pointless. And it's a shame because he looks really cool. It's a really cool looking little character, but it's useless. Absolutely 100% wasted development time. And I feel really strongly about that because I just can't get my head in the mindset of somebody that actually thinks, oh yeah, those trades are good and that's an attractive thing that makes it worthwhile. It's like they started off with a really good idea and then just went, well, what should we do with it? Oh, well, why don't we have him trade things? Well, what should we have him trading? Because we don't want to affect the balance of the game. Oh, we'll just give him a load of rubbish then. And then it's just like, well, what's the point? Why add him in the first place? Oh, well, he's going to be featuring Minecraft dungeons later on, so we had to add him in the main game. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But that just quite handily brings us on to our very last discussion today. And this podcast is going on for quite a while already, I realise. And that is Minecraft Earth and Minecraft Dungeons. Now, I've touched on these quite substantially already, so I'm not going to go on about them too much, but I am going to reiterate a little bit. Minecraft Earth looks like a really good idea, but I really don't think it's going to be, which is a shame. I don't want to be a naysayer before it happens. I really hope it's really good and we get to play it and it's going to be great. But for somebody like me that is into PC gaming rather than console, or certainly not mobile gaming, I think it's going to be difficult to do. I think the AR tech looks great in the demo, but I think it's going to be really limiting, and I think that's going to be something people are going to turn off. I think the idea of having real-life humans inside your Minecraft build is just not going to work properly. It's going to be glitchy, it's going to be weird, it's going to be off-putting, so people are just going to turn that off straight away. Like on Pokemon Go, where you... I played that quite a lot with Jack. That was a nice, easy one to play on a mobile, because all you're doing is flicking a ball at things. If you turned on the background, you could actually see your Pokemon actually in the world, but we just never had it enabled because it was really weird. The Pokemon just looked like they were sliding about on the physical, different things in the world. So one would spawn on a bench, but when you moved the camera, it didn't move with the world. It would slide around. It just looked really weird and wrong. And so we just turned it off and didn't make the game any less fun. It just meant that the AR part of the game was completely pointless. You still go around the world looking for these Pokemon, but you don't look at it through the camera and see it in the real world. You just, it's got its just standard little background thing. And that worked absolutely fine. And it was actually, good for the battery power as well. It saved battery, so it was great. And it would be a real shame for this Minecraft Earth if that sort of feature that could be a really nice feature to have real life people actually looking like they're in your Minecraft builds and just everyone's turning it off because it doesn't really work too well. Or even the game itself struggling to actually locate your buildings that you're supposed to be dropping into the world if they just start moving about weirdly because your garden's not particularly flat, or your play area that you're doing it at the park is a funny shape, or you live in a hilly area and this building's half sticking out of a hill. I don't think in reality it's unless you live somewhere really flat and open, I think it's going to be a bit of a weird one. But I really hope I'm wrong. I really, really, really hope I'm wrong, because it could be absolutely amazing. It also looks like it's one of those things. This is a little bit like the new Hypixel game. I can't remember the name of it now, but the new Hypixel one that's coming out. That's like, oh, the Minecraft killer, that one, where everybody got so excited. Hytale, that's it. Really, really excited. It's going to be a Minecraft killer. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And going to do the other. But yet, all of the demos we saw and all of the documentation, none of it actually said what you're going to be able to do in the game, whether it's going to be creative building, whether you're going to be able to do this. And it's very much like the company's putting it out there as this is what you will expect from the game because you know Minecraft. But we're not going to say that because actually half of that stuff's not actually in the game. And I think Minecraft Earth's going to be very similar to that, where you look at it and you think you've got these expectations of what it's going to be like from the stuff they've actually put out there. And they're like, oh yeah, it runs on the Bedrock edition of the game. The Bedrock engine's what runs it. So you're going to be able to do redstone and you're going to be able to do this and you're going to be able to do that. In reality, I think the survival aspect of it is going to be completely gone. I don't think there's going to be any survival stuff whatsoever other than being able to place blocks, which from the demo they did at the Apple WWDC didn't look particularly intuitive or particularly good. So I think it's going to be one of those flash in the pan. Wow, look at that. I've imported my world from Bedrock Edition into the real world. Great. Okay, let's move on. And then there's the whole privacy issue with it as well, because if you've got kids looking at builds that are in a world full of other people's builds, because that's the idea. It's not just your builds that appear in the world, it's everybody in the whole world. There's going to be a lot of people that are not nice people making weird stuff and rude stuff. So they've said, oh, it's okay because we're going to add something in there to stop you being able to see other people's builds. Well, what's the point then? You'll be able to see your build somewhere in a street because you're not allowed to build in public areas. Oh no, private land either, apparently, because of privacy issues. So it's going to like, oh yeah, the main feature of the game, we're going to have toggleable so that parents don't have to worry about their kids seeing rude stuff out in the world, which most parents aren't going to even know about, so they won't do it. So these kids are going to be subject to it anyway. And the ones that do are going to turn it off and the kids are going to be annoyed they can't see what their friends are building, and it's just going to cause issues. This game's designed at kids quite clearly. It's not an adult thing to do, run about with your phone outside and drop builds into the world. It's definitely an imagination thing. It's definitely a kid's thing. And I think the security issues are really, really particularly problematic for this. Particularly the other thing is, you're going to have people walking around with their phones out looking through their phone at other buildings, like real things in real life. They'll be seeing Minecraft on it, but what's to stop adults or dodgy people going around pretending that they're looking at their phone screen at this amazing Minecraft build, but actually they're taking pictures of you or your kids or your house, or they're taking video of stuff and they're scoping out your house because they're going to rob it, or they just want to take pictures of your kids and that's an easy way of getting around it, or schools or something like that. That's going to make it really difficult for you to go over to people and go, hey, what do you think you're doing? Because, we're just playing Minecraft. I think that's a bit weird. And then the other side of that is if, dodgy adults, and I say dodgy in inverted commas, want to attract children over to their house, what's to stop them building sort of almost like candy factory, come and get in my van type stuff? Oh, look at Mr. X down at the end of the road there's built this really lovely little colourful fantasy castle with rainbows and sheep and all this fancy stuff. I want to go and look at it, mummy. And this guy's just going to be like building these things and plonking them at the end of his street to lure all the children from the neighbourhood over. Oh, do you want to come in and have some lemonade and look what I built in Minecraft? I just think those things are really dangerous. And I think that game is going to need a lot of hand-holding from parents first before they let their kids run out in the wild with it. And also because your kids are going to be running about with £1,000 worth of iPads and iPhones wanting to play this game, and they're running about outside. You're going to be terrified they're going to drop it or smash it or lose it or have it stolen from them, Maybe I'm a bit of a naysayer. Maybe I see the negatives in things too much, but I just worry. I worry about that because I've got kids, and I worry about what if my kids are doing that, and therefore that, that's global. It's not just me that feels like that. I worry about it for everybody's sake. So that's the negatives aside. The positives, Minecraft Dungeons looks absolutely amazing. It looks like a whole new version of Minecraft. Obviously, it's completely different. It's a dungeon crawler. It's not the same game. But the whole idea of having all of these new weapons and this new armor and these gadgets and these accessories and working around in worlds that look Minecrafty, but they've actually got trees with proper leaves on, and they've got carpets and shields stuck on the wall and really amazing looking textures and environmental stuff and atmospheric stuff. It looks amazing. To get half of that stuff in the actual Minecraft game would be amazing. But the reason I want to bring this up, more than just saying I'm really excited about Minecraft Dungeons, is because it's interesting to me that they announced it last year. They're on about the release date for it being spring of 2020, which is when I would imagine they're going to be suggesting the release date is for Minecraft Java 1.15 and Minecraft Bedrock. It will probably be about 1.15 by then as well, I would imagine, because they have more regular updates. I think this is going to come hand in hand at the same time as the new combat mechanics that they keep teasing. Yes, we're getting new combat mechanics. It was on Twitter. So they've basically said the 1.91 in Java Edition, we completely messed up. It's taken us this long to actually come up with a good idea. And I've got a feeling that the combat mechanics we're going to get for actual core Minecraft are going to be very similar to the ones we're getting in the Minecraft Dungeons. And I think because we're getting the smithing table functionality and the fletching table functionality, which are part of the Village and Pillage update, but we don't have the functionality for those yet, they've said publicly we're waiting for the next update or the next major update before we add in the functionality for those, because we've got a good idea. I'm thinking we may well be seeing things like accessories and battle axes and hammers and stuff like that, more weapons and more tools and more enchanting and more accessories as part of a whole combat update overhaul. And I think it was Ant Vedum that put out a video that said he thought the next Minecraft big update was going to be called Combat and Cobalt or something like that, or Cobalt and Cave-In, and everyone's going on about this new cobalt block or dust because they saw like blue redstone that they saw in one of the teaser videos, and Mojang's like, oh no, it was just a rendering error. We might see cave-in stuff, and I hope we do. I hope caves get improved, but I'm more excited about the idea that combat to Minecraft could actually become interesting, because at the moment, combat in Minecraft, if you're an advanced player and you've got full diamond armor and you've got the best tools, it's boring because zombies are slow, skeletons are pointless. You know, they're not pointless, but they're really easy. For a younger player, for somebody new to Minecraft and early game stuff, it's not easy, but it's avoidable. I like the idea that they're going to make that scalable. At the moment, if you get a raid early on in the game or you come across a pillager patrol, that's a pretty tricky thing to deal with early on in the game. Later on, it's really easy. It's not a problem. Certainly on Bedrock Edition, raids are really easy. The more you get, well, the more stuff you've got, as everything is. So it'd be nice if they're going to add in more, I want to say toggleable, but I mean more things like raids that make the game harder, but you have to trigger it, not just happening naturally. I don't want to play Minecraft and my base is just constantly being bombarded by wave after wave of more and more difficult mobs because I've spent more time there. I want to be able to play Minecraft peacefully because I've lit up the area and not have to worry about pillager patrols turning up and getting on my nerves, or phantoms flying down because I've forgotten to sleep. I want to be able to just enjoy my world, but I also want to actually be able to go out there with these exciting tools and weapons and go and kill loads of mobs and get loads of loot and stuff like that and level up and actually get better armor and work on my armor. And I say, look, my chest plate, I can, if I add this accessory to it or this enchantment, it's going to get better, which is kind of already in the game. But if they bring those two things together, from what we've seen from Dungeons and actual core Minecraft, I think it could be absolutely amazing. They look like they're coming out at the same time. It would be a big missed opportunity as far as I'm concerned for them to go, hey, here's a new combat update for Minecraft, here's Minecraft Dungeons, but the two are completely different. That just doesn't sound, that doesn't sound ideal to me. It seems like a likely thing that there will be, at least in some way, have some sort of parity between the two games, which would be really nice. Anyway, that's pretty much all I've got to say today. Before I go, I would like to just say again, if you want to get hold of me, if you've got anything you want to talk to me about, including things from this podcast, if you've got any feedback or questions, or if you think I've said something that's wrong, or if you want to talk to me about these issues and things further, please do get hold of me on Twitter at FoxyNoTail or on my Discord. The link is in the description. I've got a website with links to all of my stuff, including my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/FoxyNoTail, and my Patreon page, where you can pledge and become a VIP on my Discord and even join my realms and servers. The link to that is patreon.com/FoxyNoTail. My plans for the next week are to catch up with videos. I'm very much behind after being on my holiday. I want to get my big epic special video actually recorded and done so I can get that out and over to all of you guys. I'm really excited about doing that, but it's going to be a big one and it's going to take time, so I'm kind of putting it off, and I need to stop putting it off and actually get on with it. I want to continue writing my Who Killed Steve book, and I also want to hear from you guys about topics for the next podcast. What do you want me to talk about? What things do you want me to cover? And if you've got any questions for my podcast, please do ask them on Twitter at FoxyNoTail or on my Discord. There is a channel just for questions for Foxy, which I then leave and answer in my podcasts. So something to think about before the next podcast. What do you think of Minecraft Earth's security issues and potential issues with the technology limitations? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think it's going to be a problem? Let me know. I really look forward to getting your feedback and comments on this. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you did, do please leave a like. Don't forget to share and subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!